Good evening. My name is Katrina Mitchell. I'm the coordinator of the Child Abuse and Domestic Violence Prevention Office. And today we're going to talk about being smart about social media. Next. Social media is a big part of just about everyone's life itself. It's how you communicate, it's how you can be inspired, but you have to have boundaries. Our kids are constantly on social media or on the internet, and so you have to understand they're always ingesting, digesting whatever they see. And so the good thing about social media is, it's a way of connecting with family and friends. You can volunteer for nonprofit or different charities itself. um, you know, you can get inspired and be creative, sharing ideas, music, and fine arts itself. You can meet and interact with others who have similar interests. And during the shutdown, this was quite essential for schools and for people to work from home. But here's the thing, you have to have the proper boundaries because social media is the wild, wild west. Next one. Here's the thing. Um, it's not just social media, but it's anywhere where a person can interact, have comments. Like for instance, YouTube. So if a kid has a YouTube channel and there's ability to leave comments, that anyone can leave comments, that can really affect how they perceive themselves itself. You got to understand that a lot of kids use social media and different platforms, even if they're playing online games. If they're in a chat room, that is a way that the outside world can interact with them. So we need to have boundaries itself. 98.5% of teens do use social media. And as you notice, kids younger and younger are using social media as well. Next one. Social media can give you a sense of belonging. You can tell your story without it being edited or chopped up or anything like that. So it does break down a lot of barriers altogether. One of the memes I'm sharing is all these 9 year olds with iPhones, iPads, and laptops. When I was 9 years old, I felt cool with new markers. And I wanted to share, to share that to let you know how the dynamics has really changed for our kids itself. Next one. So here are some of the things about if you don't have boundaries and the kids are just out there online itself. Cyberbullying, being exposed to inappropriate sexual images or comments or violence or itself. Uploading embarrassing photos or videos that hasn't been filtered itself and not really, um, did they sit down and really think it out? Sharing personal information with strangers and being exposed to targeted ads itself and hacking, data breach. Next one. What these are some of the biggest things that we're seeing overall in the world, the United States, Texas, and within our school district. Inappropriate sexual pictures using um, illegal drugs or substances, selling illegal drugs and substances, hate speeches, microaggression statements, access to weapons, or making threats of using a weapon. Next one. So tonight, what we're going to talk about is Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, and we're going to just talk about the effects that we're seeing um, our kids developing this all together, or just their exposure to it itself. Next one. So Snapchat, with actually Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, one of the main concerns is private settings. None of the if a kid has or a teenager, I would also recommend this for adults as well. Those settings on those platforms need to be private. Okay, if they're not private, that means anyone on there can be exposed they can be exposed to anything. It is not just that one connection itself, it's that connection to sometimes, if someone clicks on something that is violent, you get targeted ads that are sent to you constantly itself. We have noticed that more. First, you saw it more on Facebook, but now you're seeing it more on Instagram and Snapchat itself. Also with TikTok. If you're liking funny videos about hunting or funny videos about um, rollerblading itself, it's going to constantly target that itself. So if it's something that's inappropriate that a someone has liked, that means more similar subjects are going to be targeted to that to them as well. Digital diaries itself. You're having a bad day. One of the concerns that we have for as minors is, discussing um, what's going on in the household. You're having problems with your mom, you're having problems with your grandmother or your dad itself. And if your settings are private or public, anyone and everyone can see this. If you don't know who's on your friends list that you have befriended, that means you're giving them totally access to the dynamics in your household itself. And law enforcement said this is one of the biggest problems with predators that groom kids itself. Snapchat doesn't save pictures. That's one of the biggest things is a lot of minors think if my mom doesn't see it, I'm fine. But here's the thing. If it's something has been uploaded inappropriately and someone does a screenshot, even though it falls off of that platform within 24 hours, it still can return on another platform or on the same platform that you might not be friends in that group with, but now they have a picture of it itself. Posting real time location. Um, I do teen dating violence as well. And one of the things I tell the kids is when you date someone, your whole family dates them. And so having proper boundaries, having healthy habits online itself. Predators sending adult content. This is a major issue. If those profiles are not private and have access to them, they store it a conversation itself. They can send them um, adult content itself. Inappropriate pictures, violence, threatening against persons is a terroristic threat to self. A lot of times people don't understand that if even if you're in a group chat and it's on a platform, it's still documentation within that chat. So if a minor makes any type of terroristic threats of bringing a gun or making harm someone with any type of weapons, that can be used against you itself. So once again, it needs to be we need to make sure that as parents check behind with your kids, not just the privacy settings, but also who's on their friends list. Do you really know these people? Ask your kids, what is your definition of knowing someone? Are they classmates? Are they cousins? Are they friends of the family itself? And this is not just, if you notice with predators itself, I did say predators, and we do have, strangers that are reaching out, but you got to also understand too that a lot of times it can be older or family or friends of the family that's sharing inappropriate content. So make sure that on these platforms you check those direct messages, you check to see what was sent, what was received, what conversations that were had itself. And this is where the manipulation and the grooming comes in at. If you have someone that's a predator on that list, and they're grooming them, telling that they're cute and they're handsome, you look really good today. And that person, you're the only person that told me that today. That's a way for someone to groom. So make sure we talk about that. Check in each one of your kids' social media account. Your average kid has anywhere from 2 to 4 accounts on each platform. So we need to understand that as well. DMs, check those DMs. Even if your account is private, people can send you a message a direct message on Instagram, but you still have to accept it. So they still have that way. So we need to constantly monitor, interact, and reinforce those boundaries that need to be set all together. Okay. Um, 70% of teens experience anxiety, stress, depression, and what we call instant gratification. Instant gratification is just seeking out this acceptance and affection itself and not knowing where it's coming from or the intent of it. And the TikTok challenges. TikTok challenges is also a big thing itself. It can be good if it's the proper boundary and it's positive, but you need to also make sure with TikTok, you have a lot of how to videos. And that means how to both positive and negative. You have a lot of how to videos to go around certain firewalls, hacking, just doing things that are just totally inappropriate. So constantly check and see what type of material that your kids are looking at. Next one. When TikTok challenges first started, they were really, innocent like this. And you still have the little dance challenges and itself, which is good. But at the same time, you need to make sure you talk to your kid. When you post anything, it is out there forever and it can affect you, not just for in that moment, but it can also affect you in your future if it's something inappropriate itself. A lot of minors or kids think if my mom and her grandmother or my dad doesn't see it, I'm okay. But I tell the kids is, you're trying to get an internship or you're trying to get a scholarship, or let's say you have graduated and a company does a forensic background check online using facial recognition software. All of that can affect your future itself. Next one. And then, during COVID, TikTok and a lot of other platforms became very popular because everyone was basically in the house itself. And so what happened was you start to see a little bit more poor boundary challenges itself. And what I've noticed um, with with kids and teenagers and with adults itself, they never really look at the consequences of different things. So the milk crate challenge, you had a lot of broken bones, spinal injuries itself. The corn on the cob challenge was encouraging people to put a corn on the cob on a power tool, and then you eat the corn itself. You had a lot of broken teeth and dental work that was a result of that. And then it became a little bit more cynical and criminal. Devilish Lick was a challenge that came out last year, and it was encouraging kids to destroy and steal school property. There was arrest for vandalism and theft itself. You need to understand this is real. And so we have to teach our kids proper boundaries all the time itself. A lot of the time, the viewers just looked at this was fun. This is all they got away with it itself. But you got to understand it is also teaching kids horrible habits and not a sense of consequences altogether. And then from that, it was less than a month when you had Slap a Teacher Challenge, which was encouraging minors to assault, um, felony batter, and cruelty. You had kids that were arrested. You had teachers that were assaulted and require medical attention. In some cases, be admitted into the hospital itself. So we want to talk to our kids about proper boundaries, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate itself. The blackout challenge, where several kids died for the lack of um, air to the brain. In every last one of the cases where you had a um, kid that died, it was just a matter of minutes when they were discovered itself. So it is very important that you constantly Google and see what the new challenges are itself. I'm 47 years old. This is not the same as if when we came home, we were home. Um, but these days, You have to have proper boundaries and constantly check behind your kids and monitor what they do itself, because they are accessible to the whole world if you don't have those private settings on or constantly monitoring what they're looking at itself. Next one. Cyberbullying. Cyberbullying, we have a policy with it. Is a major issue worldwide and countrywide as well. Most of the cyberbullying does occur on any type of digital device, social media, texting itself. Um, and it's really mean. And we know that it's really affecting our kids' health, adults' health as well, itself. So be aware of that altogether. Some of the cyberbullying can cross into criminal behavior. You're seeing an increase of more and more parents that are making police reports and filing charges itself, because the cyberbullying cross into a lot of times making terroristic threats itself. So all of that is a representation of our kids and who we are as well. Next one. We're seeing an increase of cyberbullying with video games, because the new thing with video games is you record yourself or you live stream yourself playing a game, showing going to each of the levels and what tricks that you have to get there itself. So what we're seeing is just a lack of conflict resolution skills, being very abusive if they lose. Here's the thing: you're not going to win every day, and so we have to teach our kids to keep working to be a better person at whatever they're doing. But we also have to teach them conflict resolution skills. It's not okay to lash out and to cause anyone verbal and emotional abuse itself or trauma. Next one. In cyberbullying and itself, um, or posting inappropriate comments and everything. This is emotional abuse, gaslighting, body shaming itself. And we know this does affect our children, and we don't want this. Next one. It does affect your mental health itself, um, the stress, the anxiety, depression itself, trying to fit in, trying to get that instant gratification of a lot of likes itself. And a lot of times, kids and teens, they don't have that filter of what's right and what's wrong. Their main goal is to get a lot of likes, and that can be um, very harmful to one's mental health. Next one. So, here's what social media becomes so attached. And this is not just for kids and teens. This is for adults. This fear of missing out itself. You got a lot of platforms. If you're not on that platform constantly, you will miss it. It's not like Facebook that, where you can miss something and you can still get something to come down your wall from yesterday or the day before or up to 5 days. A lot of these platforms, if you're not on there, so what has developed this attachment to always being on to make sure you see everything. Too much for communications, no boundaries itself, not focusing on homework, focusing on classroom assignments itself. Um, the fear of missing out. All of this is attached to self. So we really have to have boundaries with our kids and give them a sense of detachment so that they can fulfill whatever priorities that you have made in your household. And also go for schools. One of the biggest issues nationwide with education now, a constant battle of telling the kids to put their phones up itself. Doing instructional time is really important. And so every minute is a missed minute of teaching something that you can carry with you for a lifetime. So it's really important that we teach our kids proper boundaries when it's a time and place to use the cell phones itself. Next one. Mm. One of the major problems that we're seeing through the development of all this new technology and having access to everything, it starts to get really cynical. Sexting. Sexting is when you take someone is taking a nude, partial nude, or sexual content picture and sent it itself for minors. Federal law is if you're under the age of 18, that's considered child pornography. Whether you take the picture and you send it, if you receive the picture itself, or if you receive the picture and then you continue to send it on to other people, that's distribution of child pornography itself. Here's the thing, because so many minors are so subject to seeing sexual content online, in movies, streaming different shows or movies itself, the norms and the boundary has been extended, and it's not a good thing sometimes. Because if you're posting your own pictures, who are you attracting to that picture itself? Are they going to be sending them additional asking to send inappropriate pictures? Or are they going to start engaging in inappropriate conversations about sexual stuff that should be left up to the parents or whoever the guardian is at that particular time? Or a trusted adult that the parent says, hey, you have an expert in this. Can you assist us with talking to our kids itself? But if there's no privacy settings online, people can send any and everything. And let's just be really honest. A lot of our kids, they're kind of thinking skills, trying to digest sometimes a lot of things that's really hard for adults to digest, can be affected by this. My first presentation on sexting was in 2013 itself. So it has expanded. Before, a lot of times it was put on the school to try to handle it. But here's some of the boundaries that you have to understand. Those devices is private property, okay, and itself. So we encourage our parents that, and we're going to do our part for us doing lessons like this with the kids with a partnership, but we have to encourage the parents to do your part to see what kind of content that the kids are looking at. Because sexting has become such a major problem in the United States, and it's not just a high school and middle school problem, it is actually filtered down to the elementary schools. You're seeing an increase of what we call sextortion. And sextortion is someone that's exploiting the child online, sending inappropriate pictures, exchanging inappropriate pictures or videos itself. And a lot of times they manipulate the kid to either keep sending them with violent threats against them or the parents. And let's go back to the privacy settings. A lot of times they have all the information they need if there's no boundaries on what the kid is posting. The live time location, if it's there at the house, is it posting your address itself? Is it posting that you are at a mall and that person have access to them? At the food court, all of this factors into this. So what we're seeing, since you have an increase of sexting and sextortion, this is leading to more and more sex trafficking among minors itself. So this is something you have to really look at. You have 1 million children that are victims of um, sex trafficking around the world. Okay, so this is a major thing, and that's want to show with the graphics that a lot of this has led back to all of this. Next one, next one, next one. So human trafficking. Here's the thing: most human traffickers now groom their kids online. Because a lot of times, if there's no boundaries and no one's watching anything, they can groom them for hours and hours and hours at a time. Um, the United States is number one country for is in importing human trafficking itself. All law enforcement, especially at the federal level, this is modern day slavery. Texas is number three in the United States. Dallas is number two. Houston is number one. You have about 300 um, annually itself Dallas is a hotspot because what we have 30 and 20 that's coming through. And anytime you have any type of interstate that's connecting to any major cities, it is a major problem. You have an estimated about 400 teens that are sold for sex nightly. And we got to understand this. When it comes to any type of human trafficking, it's about violence, it's about threats, it's about having total access to that person itself. What we're seeing an increase in with the human trafficking, the violence towards the families itself. It is big business altogether. So we do need to be aware of it and set these boundaries with our children online. Next one. So encourage positive behavior online. Set good examples. Think about before what you're posting itself. Use respectful language. Fact check before you post. Um, Make real people a priority itself and never dismiss anyone's trauma and pain. Okay. Next one. Um, we already know that this is already in what we see from our parents and from our staff, but affirmations is really, really needed because a lot of times when you see these predators or someone that's trying to groom the kid, they get them with positive affirmations itself. So it is really important for parents to keep doing the job they're doing. And I would have to say increase it, giving positive affirmation, itself. Hey, you did a good job on your homework, or you got you got a smiley face on your behavior in your classroom itself. Let them know about the good thing that if they took out the trash and you didn't have to tell them. Let them know, hey, thank you for helping me out. But we really have to put extra work into this because we know that the predators are doing their part when they're giving this, and we don't want our kids to be manipulated to thinking someone care about them when they don't. Next one. You're worthy. You're someone. You're the only version of you to ever exist in the universe. You are great, you are powerful, and you are special. We want each one of our students to know this is the way we feel about them itself. So this is something that we constantly want to make sure we are telling our kids um, on a regular basis. Next one. So encourage our kids. Be your own person. Think before you post. Never talk to anyone, strangers, or anyone about sex itself, whether it's coming from another minor child or someone that knows the family itself. Constantly reinforce what your boundaries are and what's expected of them. Avoid ever meeting someone in public itself. To talk to your kids about what do you consider a friendship itself. You got a lot of fake accounts online. A lot of times, adults get caught up in this. So never base or measure your life based on what others post. You don't know if that's real or not. You don't know what their journey is itself. So always explain that to your kids and be nice online. You got to understand that, once you post something, it is always on there. We have seen it in different singing competitions where, someone made it to the top five and someone pulled up something from, um, even when they were in high school and they was disqualified for some discrimination posters that they have. Next one. Healthy social media habits, and this means also, this is not just for our kids, it's for adults. What you do, what they see you do, what they see you interact, what is your response when you see? What videos are you looking at itself? What are you laughing at? Is it laughing at the expense of someone seriously getting injured or assaulted or anything like that? It is really important that we set those boundaries. Next one. Methods of protecting yourself from bullying. Block the bully itself. Contact the app and let them know that it came from this user itself. If it's one of a student, remember we do have a bullying policy. So make sure you can talk to the teacher or the counselor or administrator about that itself. And you do have different anti-bullying organizations. If you feel threatened at any time, make sure you can make a police report so you can have documentations of that as well. Next one. These are some parental apps that you can use to monitor your kid. It depends on what your boundaries are. I'm just one of those people, the content that I have seen, I do encourage you to form some type of boundaries and method is looking. I also encourage what I call the spot check. When you're walking in those rooms and say, hey, let me see what's on your phone itself, making sure, that you're telling your kids that it is your responsibility. You are the adult. So that means that phone, it shouldn't be boundaries where you don't have any contact or know what's on their phone because the kid feel it is my phone and you're violating my right. But you got to understand they are minors and it's our job to protect them. And I have to say this as well. Through the country, you're seeing more and more cases that police are being less patient with parents with the quotes, I didn't know. Because if it's anything that's criminal or causing someone trauma itself, no one is accepting that anymore. So make sure you can use these. You can go onto YouTube and see how they work itself. But make sure you have something, whether you want to use this. I do encourage it to a certain point as well, but make sure you setting those boundaries. Next one. Mhm. Also, remember if you feel like someone is being affected, you can make a report um, to Texas Department of Family Services itself. I also encourage you to go onto the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children. They have a great Net Smart Kids free handouts, also interactive games and lesson plans to let you know about that. And I think it's really, really good because here's the thing, it is a major problem. So make sure you are on top of that. Next one. And the thing is, ask for help. And when I mean asking for help is if you need help with, looking up something on Google to see how it responds itself. But remember, there is boundaries. A lot of their terroristic threats or inappropriate stuff that happens, it's usually happening at home on the parents' Wi-Fi, on their device, and here's the thing, on their time. So we have to do our part about protecting our kids and knowing what our boundaries are. Next one. All right. If you have any questions whatsoever, you can contact me at catmitchell at dallasisd.org. I am available doing workshop for parents and for the kids as well. To let them know what the boundary is, to let them know what's out there itself. A lot of times, if only one person is talking about the dangers, we have to work in a partnership to let them know this is real, and for adults to know it's real. Okay. And we know it's real. We see it all the time with adults itself, posting inappropriate stuff. Even if an adult is caught doing something that is discriminatory, it's amazing to me that people can take these videos and sometimes less than 24 hours. They have the identity of that person in that video. And then a lot of times, less than 72 hours, they're fired from that company. So we need to make sure we teach our kids proper boundaries, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, and that social media and the internet, it is forever. What you post is always out there. All right. Any questions? All right. Thank you.